Okay, so we start the next session. So we take 45 minutes to discuss about the BGIN organization and the future roadmaps. Okay, so this is the agenda. So in the first half, 25 minutes, so I would like to discuss about the sustainable financial foundation for BGIN. Yeah, so it is related to the governance of BGIN itself. And after that, we will discuss about future work items. What kind of document we will create at the beginning. Okay, at first, so financial thing of the beginning itself. The beginning is a global and multi-stakeholder discussion place. And, governance of its beginning is a very fundamental issue. So, for example, if some cryptocurrency exchange pay $1 million per year for me, that's fine, but it may cause a governance issues. So it's a very we are very cautious about that designing fundraising policy from governance point of view. And currently, so we don't have any membership or any that board or something like that. But so we have the BN Association. It's a Japanese non-profit to manage the IPR of each document and manage that financial things for the BGIN block meeting or something like that. And the BN Association is a Japanese organization to manage IPR and budget related to block BGIN activities. And the BGIN preliminary bylaw define the relationship between the BGIN and BN. It's a very similar relationship between IETF and the Internet Society. And we already have the BGIN preliminary bylaw. So it requests to create fundraising policy for BN. And we have tentative fundraising policy until block number 9. And be informed that authorize a group to create and manage the fundraising spending policy. And then so a part of the sponsor fee for a block meeting can be used for the operational cost of BN, including website and marketing. And a part of the ticket fee for block meeting can be used for the operational cost of BN. And a part of sponsor and ticket fees can be used for discharge past liability spent for the past BN operation BGIN. And the donations are allowed, and all expenses need approval by steering committee. This is a current budget fundraising policy. Then, so we have the tentative spending process. The BN hired part-time, full-time staff to manage the fundraising process. We have two staffs currently. The BN and the local committee of each block meeting jointly seeks event sponsors for block meetings. So block number 9, we are very successful to have 10 event sponsors. Thank you very much. And the BN sell ticket for block meetings if the fundraising policy group decided to sell the ticket. And if that organization, company, and individual provide a donation, so fundraising policy group decided whether BN accept that donation. And all expenses needs approval by steering committee. These are what we are doing now. But it's a good from governance point of view. Might be good, but so it's not sustainable, I think. And we are now starting to create that more sustainable fundraising or budget policy. And I would like to switch to Takaya Sugino to explain that our preliminary investigation. And so we would like to discuss to take the 10 or 15 minutes, which are good policy and the mixture of that ways of fundraising. Anyway, that I would like to switch to Takaya.
Okay, so this presentation is for existing sponsors and also future potential sponsors as well. So thank you for all of your support for BGIN. And my name is Takaya Sugino, and I belong to the Financial Services Agency of Japan. And for those who don't know about GFSA, it is Japanese financial regulatory agency. So, as Miwa-san mentioned in the panel, like previous panel, like the Japanese Financial Services Agency, like contributed to the foundation of BGIN, and we are still supporting BGIN's governance and management, believing that this network will be the best space where all stakeholders can have a meaningful conversation to shape the future blockchain and to foster the industry. So can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so while we feel appreciated and we are happy to see BGIN expanding, we still need to think about how to achieve more sustainable development of BGIN, and especially in terms of funding. We currently ask you for support every time we organize a block meeting, but we are still thinking about like launching an endowment sort of thing to make our funding more sustainable and efficient. So I would like to go through like examples of endowments that other standard setting bodies have. And yeah, it'll be really appreciated if we could discuss, the best way to receive your support. So next slide. Okay, so I will quickly introduce examples of the IETF and OpenID Foundation. So I believe that all of you know the OpenID Foundation because we had a really great discussion panel facilitated by the Natsan, the chair of the OpenID Foundation yesterday. And IETF stands for the Internet Engineering Task Force, founded in 1986, which is a premier standard setting body for the internet. So I will quickly introduce the IETF first. So next slide, please. So this slide shows the governance structure of the IETF endowment. The whole explanation of this figure is not really relevant to you all, so probably. But the point is that IETF has a board of trustees, and the board has a responsibility for the operation, expenditure, and investment of the funds, and the endowment receives from sponsors and donors. And sponsors have formed the endowment council, which provide advice and guidance to the board of trustees. So next slide, please. So means of sponsorship. While we received your support by asking each of you through emails, but we have an email as an of course calls. We have an online donation. They have an online donation on the donation form on the website, where you can choose like how much money you would like to donate and sponsor for the endowment, and you can quickly pay through PayPal or business credit card. So, and they received donations also from charitable trust and donor advice funds as well. So they have a variety of funding resources. The next slide, please. So who are their sponsors? So they received a $3 million contribution from major organizations such as like Internet Numbers Registries in 2016 and collected $3.4 million in total as of 2021, and for-profit organization as well as non-profits contribute to them. So they are currently targeting $50 million by 2027, but still far from their target. So next slide. And actually, there are not many sponsorship benefits, but the IETF clearly states what public and social benefits that organization can contribute to if they sponsor or donate to the IETF. And I will skip the explanation about the matching pledges, but this is one of the incentive design of sponsorship. So okay, next slide. So let's move to the other case, the OpenID Foundation. The governance structure of the OpenID Foundation endowment is quite simple. So the OIDF has a board, and the board makes the decision on the management and project operations within the foundation. And on the other hand, the OIDF has OIDF members, and they pay a membership fee to receive membership benefits, and they can give direct donations of funds through the direct funding program to make a proposal on specific projects or specific purposes. So the OIDF has solo and absolute discretion to accept or reject funding through the program. Next slide. So means of sponsorship. I already explained it in the previous slide, but 1/3 of the funding source is from membership fees, and they have tiered membership as shown in the table. And the sustainable member, which is in the bottom of the table, pays an annual fee of $50,000 to receive a seat on the OIDF board. So next slide, please. So there are a variety of sponsors, including like corporate members, government, and nonprofit members. But there are a decent number of sustainable members as well, such as Cisco and Google. And yeah, next slide. So there are some benefits of sponsorship that include both social and private ones. But one of the significant private benefit is that sponsors can receive discounts on the certification of compliance with global standards set by the OpenID Foundation. So if they are sustainable members, sustaining members, they will be given a seat on the board, on the OIDF board, and they can influence the decision-making process of the OIDF. So contributions through direct funding programs also allows sponsors to propose specific projects or purposes, as I mentioned before. So next slide. So yeah, this is just an idea for a long-term endowment plan based on my research of those examples, but we could also start by like having a membership program or maybe a direct funding program, maybe. But anyway, we are open to your thoughts and opinion about the best way of making the BGIN more sustainable. And I don't think we have enough time to talk about it like if today, but probably we could have a place where we can talk about it later with each individual potential sponsors. So okay, so this is the end of my presentation, but I kind of like the last thing I probably need to mention is that I am here just to support the BGIN's governance. So just as a JFSA person for now. So when it comes to like receiving fund contribution from each individual sponsor, I'm not involved in like any funding process at all. As a person from the government, so so I hope you all keep note of it. So thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. But I would like to hear that any opinion about that. What kind of fundraising is appropriate for the BGIN? Of course, it's not a single way. So there are several options, and that it should be the mixture of that several options. But so is there anyone So so it's just my personal idea, but so the most sustainable way is that if we have, for example, 1 million, 2 million endowment, and if we assume the 5% APY, and so we have that, so $50K annual income, that it's enough number to run the BN association. So it's one simple idea, but so I would like to hear your opinion. So the appropriate way to the sustainable.
If I can say, for everyone here who's just joining us or has been here this entire time, it's important to understand about the caliber of participants from Japan and equally globally that participated online and in person. So when we think about like running an organization here in Australia, we have to work a very hard way up to get in front of regulators, getting in front of policymakers, getting in front of academics in the right way. And in this case, we have it, down pat, I would say. And when I mean that, I mean, we have someone from the GFSA who goes up. That would never happen really, I think, in Australia, for ASIC to come up and organize and show us a governance model for blockchain. It's a wild concept. So in terms of the sponsorship, and in the future, it's so important for these conversations to exist because, the sponsors we have today that we've listed on our banners, this was only possible because they are willing to understand what the future looks like, not what BGIN looks like today, but what BGIN looks like next year. And for anyone, being with us since, the beginning of BGIN, it started off as like a Python HTML based email sign up. And now we have this fully fledged website, we have banners up, we have slides up, the organization is progressing very fast. But I think it's an open space now for anyone who has worked in foundations, be it decentralized or, associations or standard setting bodies, about how those have worked, their experience in that, and then equally any kind of advice that you can provide to us about how we can go about this governance process for our own governance so we can enable future multi-stakeholder governance conversations. So if anyone has any experience from associations, the good, the bad, the best, the ugly, what do you like to say? It would be great to hear from you, and I can pass the mic to you.
Thank you. And any other comments, question?
Just one quick comment. When sponsoring event or meetings, a meeting is a meeting, so one-off, so we can understand what type of the expenses being kind of met. But if it is going to the kind of like annual things or continuous things, there are more kind of stringent expectations to the accounting kind of report. Mm-hmm. What expenses are they're doing managed, how managed, and the budget and the actuals.
Thank you very much. And at the previous block meeting, block number 8, so we published the meeting report. And at the end of the meeting report, we disclose everything. Like what is the income, what expenses. So we will continue do the same things for the future blocks meeting reports.
Yeah, appreciate it. Perhaps more, let's say, expectation on the permanent staff for the kind of accounting. That you need to have some kind of permanent staff for doing some accounting stuff.
Yeah, I can definitely say these events don't happen by themselves. Mitch and I obviously. BGIN has a unique structure when it comes to how we do onboarding of memberships. Mitch and I, we didn't get paid for any of this, but equally it's so important to organize these. So a lot of this has come down to volunteers. We've been happy to, for a long time substitute a lot of the human resources by people who are motivated, the likes of, Chloe White, organizing as the chair of the Decentralized Treasury Working Group and, authoring many papers amongst building her own business and, finding clients and going out to market. So I think, most of the time we've actually offset a lot of these costs, but as we kind of grow as an organization, it requires, professionalizing a lot of how we go about this. Might be the staff working internally on operational, all the way through to running this block meeting. I'm very partial to the idea of in the future we have one large fundraising round for every year, and from that fundraising round we're able to pay for all these block 9 events. And then essentially the tickets go to offsetting the cost that was associated to running that event that the BGIN organization association had to outlay to run that. and running this event alongside Shinichiro and the other local hosts, local chairs, I can tell you trying to raise $5,000 from somebody is pretty much very close to raising $50,000 and then $75,000 to $150,000. So I think there's a massive efficiency that BGIN could make, reducing the lead time for these block meetings, having more of these conversations, potentially setting up more of these meetings in person in different jurisdictions, and then having some responses, press releases, these kind of pieces. If there's anything, maybe we can ask the audience, what would you like to see from BGIN? What would make you interested and continue to take part? Because again, public goods is only as good as the outcome. So any ideas, newsletters, anything, Mitchell?
Hey everyone. So we were speaking about this on the Sunday night dinner, and one of the suggestions that I thought was really thoughtful and well prepared, and it's of the open ID model from Natsan, was to find a way to attach ourselves to larger organizations who run events. So say, for example, fintech festivals, and then almost to go and propose to them that BGIN is this sort of multi-stakeholder standard setting, interested, like highly sophisticated organization, which can lead in the education to these events. And that may also mitigate some of the costs of running these events because we can bootstrap off the other venue. So I guess my suggestion and proposal would be to work within the BGIN steering committee to try and build those relationships with global events.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's one good option. And pros is what you say, that so we can have that so related domain expert easily in one place, and so we might be able to get a venue cheaper price. It's a pros, but cons. So until now, block number 9. So one of our priority is geographic diversity. For example, that if we fix that, that, for example, in spring, we hold it in Tokyo with the Japan FinTech Week, and in November, so we hold it with DC FinTech Week, something like that. But so it might fix that place. But so it's expanding phase. So if we expand that, or if we encourage that each local area to have that more active blockchain community, so we should travel so many places. So if we would like to have priority that about geographic diversity, so that option might not be good, but so there are pros and cons.
Perhaps in order to maintain geography diversity, we almost like a year or two ahead, we nominate regions of which have not received the impact of BGIN more recently, and then we can go out to that region and see if there are events running.
Yeah, for example, the first one was held in India.
Yes.
Next, the second one is in Paris, and the third one is in Africa. So, but anyway, so thank you very much. It's one of the options.
You're welcome.
Again, maybe for the audience as well, all the documents have been used to inform some level of policy in one jurisdiction or multiple jurisdictions. So when we think about, again, like why we're here, great conversations, again, are only as good as the outcomes that come from it. This week has been amazing. The level of discussions we've had in some very complex topics from parties that naturally would never meet, like having the likes of, I think it was the first panel, second panel on the Financial Applications Day. We had someone from MakerDAO who the protocol issues a decentralized stablecoin. We had someone who was an is currently a still policymaker in multiple jurisdictions, and then someone who worked on a CBC project. Where are the times you will ever get to see someone who has issued a decentralized stablecoin and then someone who is looking to issue a CBDC on the same panel? I know it wouldn't really happen in Australia, but equally we still had representation in the audience from certain institutions that may not want to be represented, but equally are very excited to be a part of that conversation. So potentially a way forward for the sponsorships and people being motivated is maybe just around the early contributions. I started off as a person that was just participating in IKP meetings, talking once every 2 weeks. And that led to then joining the paper on Solana tokens just as a contributor. And that led to me then being the co-author. And by the end of it, publishing a 104-page report that ended up going towards regulators, and that was read and that was used and was cited, is immense. So but I had to abstract from the idea of this isn't about business making, but it's more about pushing policy. And for us all to exist in this industry, it's only because policy will be meeting us straight in the eyes, as opposed to us hiding behind a curtain and letting other people discuss and hoping that it's the best conversation. So potentially in the future, there is a way that organizations are able to sponsor a paper, although we would have to have, potentially have caveats around that, because we don't want it to be incentivized to the fact that the paper is swayed. But it would be great in the future to have like a MakerDAO paper researching and looking at the decentralized stablecoin. And although maybe marketing material from the self, it's the theory that's put in front of people that we are very well connected to. And as all we know, we'll read BGIN reports that can make the massive difference. Or might it be again, looking at what the DFCRC did with the EAUD, that report, how to get that global. So it's kind of a throughput for great ideas and great intellectuals to actually have their ideas put in front of jurisdictions that naturally wouldn't see their work. So as well, I'm just opening this as ideas because I've been thinking about this continuously over the last year, participating and going to the last 3 in-person meetings, from University of British Columbia in Vancouver to a beautiful island in Croatia to now being back in my hometown of Sydney. Next place is Tokyo, whereas after that, but then that person to nominate that is very important. So again, I might ask the audience, anyone has any ideas about how to be incentivized, or equally what has worked from the past, that would be appreciated. Chloe? Awesome.
It almost feels like we could approach this like the Olympics committee to go around and sort of show local jurisdictions, you should want to incentivize us to come to you because we're going to bring this incredibly high caliber of people to go really in deep on important cutting edge innovation that is so different to what you get at a usual commercial conference. So I'm not a professional events organizer. I think we should be leaning on people who have more experience than me in this space, and with gratitude to those who do have that experience and have helped us organize this event. One of my lessons learned from Block 9 as a local host has been it is very important that as BGIN seeks more sponsorship money and aims to improve its operations and awareness, we will become more heavily scrutinized as we try to raise funds and become more impactful. And one of the areas where I think we could really improve is on the representation of women at the event. I'm incredibly grateful for the wonderful quality of content that we have been delivered today by experts from all around the world. It's been truly invaluable. I'm also aware that we have sat through an entire day of content that didn't feature any women. And so this is the kind of issue that we will be scrutinized for, and I would like to propose that this is something that we aim to improve on in Block 10. And one of the lessons that I personally learned is because there are so few women in these leadership roles in this subset of the tech sector, they're very in demand and everybody wants them to speak at their events. And we had a very high failure rate of acceptance of invitations that we sent to women experts for Block 9. And I think that that's because we didn't send the invitations out early enough. And so maybe that's one change that we could do for Block 10 is to act earlier and identify earlier where the invitations are going. So I also apologize and accept responsibility for my part in that. But I do think that it would be helpful if it wasn't only down to 1 or 2 individuals to continually raise these issues and have a view to how we could be striving to do better on that dimension. So with sincere thanks to everybody who I know is mindful of these issues and wants to advocate for diversity.
Thank you very much. And sorry, so today we don't have enough time, but I would like to propose that create the ad hoc group to continue to have the continuous discussion on it, for example, bi-weekly basis. And so by the block number 10 in March, so let us have several options of that, this governance or fundraising policy or something like that. Anyway, so I would like to propose to form that some ad hoc group. Anyone can join to have the discussion on it.
Great, thank you. And as well, we will be, for those who are able to send up Eventbrite, pass on the emails, we would love to be in contact. There's a lot of people here who have participated and contributed to a lot of these documents that will be produced. Again, I started off as a person sitting in meetings and then core things soon after, and it did wonders for how I got to see the industry globally. So let's get this started. I think it's going to be on us as well to make sure that we're proactive with our interaction with the community that we've created here, and as well all that we've had in the last few years. So that's our responsibility now. And then for everyone else here, it's your decision to see how about you would like to go, taking that conversation from just writing it down or whatnot to then actually, sitting in a meeting, writing, contributing into a document, inviting people to these kind of events, recommending certain conversations, disagreeing as well. Like we need to have this kind of discourse. Speaking of which, we have like Discourse, which is an open source protocol or open source software that has allowed us to communicate on a forum. It's on our website. If you click join us now, it goes straight to it. So if you want to understand how to connect with us, it's literally one button away. And then from there, you can just look into the forums, or you can write something down, or you can contribute to a paper. But again, we'll be putting out more notices to there. And if there's a way that we can contact you, please find us and we'll make sure it happens. But I guess that should be anything else for the business schedule today.
Yeah, I need 20 minutes more.
20 minutes.
Yeah, because that's so I say that I need 45 minutes. It's true.
I can give you 15. Okay, 20 minutes.
Let me continue. Sorry, it's my session. Okay, anyway, so before having that the next step of the fundraising way, so I would like to propose that to approve that's the same fundraising policy as by block number 9 to extend the block number 10. So this is my proposal. That's completely the same sentence. And is there any comments or objection to this fundraising policy and spending policy? These are just same as the block number 9 to use a. Okay.
So the professor said we will have probably the ad hoc meeting to continue talking about it, but probably there might be some people who don't really want to talk about it publicly. So probably we are very open to having an individual conversation with each individual. So we each of you can have a conversation with Professor Matsuo or other person named the BGIN. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to say.
Okay. Anyway, so my proposal is continuing extending that current policy to the block number 10. Is there any objection or comment? So if no, so we will get the event as a meeting or event sponsor as well as potentially sell ticket. Okay, and so we currently have the preliminary bylaw, but of course we need to create that formal bylaw after that as soon as possible. But so we need to, currently it's all the chairs, including me, tentative chair. That we need to have some formal process of the selection. It's an election or something like that. The steering committee members, co-chair of the BGIN, co-chair of the working group, study group, and the fundraising policy document. Anyway, so we will continue work on it. And after that, so lastly, so I would like to discuss about the future work items. So thank you very much for all discussion during these 4 days. So we have many findings as a future work items during our session on day 2 and day 3. And so I received the report from IKP working group chair. And so we will continue that work on the zero knowledge proof and accountable wallet and WorldCoin biometrics with reflecting comments we received during the session. Anyway, so we will continue these 3 items as a part of the IKP working group. And for decentralized treasury working group, Chloe, so could you tell us that, so what is the potential work items for your working group?
Thank you very much. So most of the content related to the decentralized finance working group was held on day 2. And we had participation by existing members in person and online. We also have some new attendees and participants. So some of the key themes from Block 9 for the working group include related to DeFi, how we can work to improve governance models and tooling to support governance models. There may also be questions to explore around how prudential policy would need to be adapted to take into account blockchain technology in DeFi use cases. There are a lot of questions about stablecoins. There have been a lot of suggestions made as to what kind of research we could do on stablecoins going forward following the research that we produced this year on the contagion that was imported to the DeFi space from the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. So the other question is also on the integration of AI and the flywheel that will be created between AI and smart contracts. So there are some questions around AI and digital economy. The interoperability and integration questions are very important for shaping holistic policy so that we're also not making policy recommendations in a technology silo or technology bubble. I want to acknowledge that prior to Block 9, we had been having some very rich conversations in the working group about our research agenda, and those conversations still need to have their natural course. So my proposal is that at the next working group meeting, we should bring together all of the suggestions, ideas that we were already working on, and the new ideas that have been generated this week at Block 9. And along with our existing and new members of the working group, decide what we want to be our research priorities for 2024. I also want to explore areas for greater collaboration and more closeness between the Decentralized Treasury Working Group and the IKP Working Group as well. And we also still have some outstanding strategies to define around how we use communication platforms and technology such as the Discourse Forum. And actually, just since I mentioned Discourse, this isn't a specific comment on the Decentralized Treasury Working Group, but I just would like to request for everybody who's been involved this week, if you could please open source your notes that you've been taking by posting them on the Discourse Forum. I think that not only will that become an important repository for the insights that we generated, but also we could point to that repository to be able to show our current and future sponsors that BGIN is worthy of continued support. And then we'll be able to keep running these fantastic events. So if everybody could please sign up to the Discourse and consider sharing your notes, that would be great, because we could then also use it to create some of the suggestions that we were talking about just earlier about summaries or media releases, if we want to use those to attract sponsors and participants in the future.
Thank you very much. And so in addition to that working group items, so we have other future work items. It's great to have Ryosuke Ushida from JFSA, but he is also the chair of the Virtual Asset Contact Group of FATF. And having him is a good step. So we have the view of the national regulators as well as the FATF's view. And so from the block number 3, so we have the strong connection to FATF Virtual Asset Contact Group. It's a group to have the interface with all stakeholders regarding the virtual asset. And we BGIN is have been invited to multiple meetings of the Virtual Asset Contact Group. So we hope to continue this strong connection to FATF. And other thing is, so we would like to have a liaison relationship with other bodies. And for example, ISO TC07, ISO TC68. And so we had a great discussion with Daniel at the Open World Foundation, and he suggested me that BGIN will be will have the relationship with Open World Foundation. That's a good thing. So I will ask steering committee to approve it. And the IEEE as an organization have a group for the blockchain governance, and potentially that they are the candidate to have some relationship. And so we had several experience to have conversation with OECD, and OECD invited me for their annual blockchain conference several times. And we hope to continue that collaboration with OECD and etc. Good. That's the final slide from me. Yeah, thank you very much for your time today. And please let us continue to the final fireside. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shinichiro. And again, for the audience who haven't met Shinichiro, you should look up how many papers he's published, he's co-authored, he's contributed to the work back in the 90s, early thousands, and today. He's a significant reason why, again, I like to say we all have a job here in this industry. And the fact that he dedicates so much time, all for free, to ensure that we can actually have this organization and these conversations, it's admirable. So again, for Shinichiro, it's been absolutely amazing so far. So please